Good evening and welcome to the December 9th, 2024 Economic Development Planning Committee meeting at 5 p.m. in Council Chambers. First thing on the agenda is public participation. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into the approval of the minutes. If you two have had a chance to review the minutes from October 16th and November 20th, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I have. Are you good?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Okay, next we're going to move into marketing updates and review. Item?
Hello, everyone. It is nice to be here on the property during recap. I'm not going to take too much of your time. It's going to be a brief overview of our efforts in marketing and economic development marketing as well. So, first I'd like to start with our community outreach efforts. In 2024, we continue to strengthen our connection with the community through strategic use of multiple platforms. As you can see, we have growth in each of our platforms that we utilize. In Facebook saw a growth of 7.8%. Now we have over 13,600 followers. 5 years ago, when I started, it was only 3,000 followers, around 3,000. So, looking at that, we do have quite.
Is there a mic down there? Sorry. Is there? It's really hard to hear.
It's not coming over the speakers up here, so.
Thank you.
I'm also sick. So
Oh, okay.
not necessarily.
Yeah.
So, other thing we wanted to highlight is our newsletter subscribers, which also seen an increase that reflects our consistent outreach efforts. When we look at all of these metrics that showcase how our outreach platforms are not only growing, but also engaging the community in meaningful ways. In this slide, we wanted to capture our annual programs that we promote and support through the social media platforms and our digital marketing, like newsletters, including website. So we do support by creating custom graphics, maintaining up-to-date information on our website, and leveraging the city's marketing platforms to get the word out about these programs. Some of those are listed: our sanitation holiday schedule, leaf pickup, and spring cleanup. I will send you guys these slides after our meeting, and these slides will also include the hyperlink to these websites. So in the future, if you have received any questions regarding how to get information on these programs, you will be able to direct them to the appropriate web pages. And again, we have something new in 2024. Economic development took a critical step toward improving how we manage and apply for grants by initiating the implementation of a centralized grant management system. This system was designed to enhance efficiency, improve collaboration across departments, and provide a structured framework for identifying and applying for grants. Although this initiative is still underway, we are already seeing how it can make a difference. This year, we worked closely with multiple departments to identify available grants. And secondly, we coordinated the submission of proposals by paying close attention to compliance and timelines, as you know, that is, which are essential for success. And we also began tracking all submissions to ensure accountability and better monitor outcomes. These steps are just the beginning. Looking ahead, our vision for this system is to empower the Economic Development Department with tools, data, and collaborative structure to increase success rates when it comes to applying for grants. While we recognize there's still some work to be done, this initiative demonstrates basically our commitment to planning for the long-term success and access to resources to grow and thrive. We also wanted to put together an informational slides to give you an overview of how an initiative comes to life. And with that, we took DORA as an example. So for example, with our DORA, we gathered feedback from our businesses, and then we started branding, designed a specific logo for this initiative. And we did the business coordination, partnered with downtown businesses to ensure smooth participation. And for outreach and engagement, we created a website designated for our DORA initiative, where community members, anyone who needs more information could basically access to that. And we also installed street signs and distributed window decals for visibility and engagement of this outreach. Well, this initiative's success was shaped by community with the feedback we received, the administrations and the council's support, and of course, thoughtful planning that goes behind it. These two ladies right here holding the DORA cup, this is from our July Independence event, and they were so happy and excited that they could actually buy their drink. They wanted me to take their picture to send it to their friends, and they also wanted me to let everyone know, whoever involved for this initiative, that they're thankful for this opportunity. And moving on, we wanted to mention specifically economic development marketing. In 2024, our marketing efforts also focused on promoting growth opportunities through targeted strategies. For example, our Zoom Prospector database that is maintain and enhance property listings with engineering analysis to attract investors. Our historic preservation promotion, which we recently received, a dedicated web page now highlights tax credits for businesses interested in historic preservation. Available incentives created a detailed document outlining CRA and job creation grant incentives along with timelines and to streamline applications basically. In downtown business incentives, we produce materials specifically for downtown businesses that highlight incentives designed for the downtown business district. All of these efforts demonstrate our commitment to supporting economic development in Wadsworth. And last but not least, this is something new. It is on our main page. New Citizen Help Center. I don't know if you had a chance to see that, this portion of our website, but this year we introduced the Citizen Help Center feature on our website to make it easier for residents to communicate with city departments or have access to those quick information that we think they come. This is something that they utilize our website for. We wanted to highlight here, through our service request forms, citizens can submit concerns, questions, or comments directly online. In 2024, we received over 80 submissions, and each of those addressed in less than 24 hours. Again, this initiative reflects the city's dedication to providing fast, efficient, and transparent communication with our residents. These are what I have as our marketing quick recap, and I'll be happy to answer if you have any questions.
I have a couple. Did the grant management system, is that something that we're managing and built in-house, or is that something that is that software that we purchased to help with that?
We are currently, what we do is the Economic Development Department looked into those grants, work with the departments, share those available grants with them. And if there's any that the department's interested in applying, we walk through the process in-house and do the submission.
So would it be possible to figure out how many grants we were, I'd be curious to know how many grants we were, not right now, but
Yeah.
how many grants we were eligible for versus what we applied for? Just, I have no idea how many grants are out there that we can go
Grants
after.
are a little crazy because they're all over the place, and it's an art in unearthing those. We have a little bit of an advantage because we're part of the AMP community, and the AMP has a specific lobbyist who search those grants out for us and send it to us. The problem is we didn't know, when it comes to economic development, I don't know what water department's doing exactly.
Right.
I don't know what sanitation's doing exactly. So when we get those now, we forward it off and say, hey, look, let's kind of be a clearinghouse. You get that information, we're interested in it, so we'll have some more expertise in writing these grants, and so we can do it on a kind of a more system basis. One of the metrics that we're going to be working on is keeping track of those. How much we applied for, how much we got, where did we get them from? If we don't measure that, we can't understand if we're doing good or doing poorly. So that's something going forward that we're specifically looking into, is keeping that.
Okay. And then I'll go around, you guys can ask questions, but the other one I had is who's quarterbacking the Citizen Help Center line? So when those requests come into the city, who's taking those and making sure that they are making it to the appropriate person?
Yeah, the responses are received by me, Matt Hiscock, Mark Testa, John Ballack, and also Beth Lucas. So within our team, we decide who to reach, who handles that, and then go from there, basically.
So they're not all going to one person, who's identifying like, oh, hey, this is a request that should go to Matt, or this should go to Streets Department?
We basically take a joint approach to it,
Yes.
so we're constantly looking at it, and it's a priority for us. So if it's something that's assignable to Mike or John, I usually do that. If it's something I need to take over, I take it. If it's something that we have to go outside and get a department head's assistance with it, we'll do that.
And is there software involved in that helps us manage that? Because this is something we've talked about in the past, is being able to track this. So when it leaves your inbox and goes to the appropriate person, how do we know that it's being, like, how's it being tracked? Same thing to the grant question, kind of. Or right now, is it in its infancy stage, and this is our first stab at it?
This one is through our website host, Civic Plus. They have this form option that we created, and we utilize that. Back on the back of the website, we can easily see how many submissions that we received. And we also keep track of the emails, notifications that we get, and then we make sure that those are addressed as well. And we reach out to the sender, send them an update, basically, to let them know where we got their request.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Any questions?
I do have one related to this topic and then another one. What can you characterize what the most common submissions are about? What's the content? What are they about?
They really are across the board.
Yeah.
A lot of them are, almost all of them are citizen-oriented. I won't always say business-oriented, but citizen-oriented. So if a person is out and sees a traffic light that's out, or sees something
okay.
like that. If someone has a street light that's out in front of their house, they call on that. If someone has water that's backing up near a storm catch basin, we'll get those. We'll get tree limbs down on sidewalks. We'll get sidewalk debris complaints. They're really across the board. We also get high grass complaints. We get some of the enforcement complaint items through there. An important provision too is ITIN does a wonderful job in monitoring our platforms. So we'll get Facebook related concerns and questions through Facebook too, and we're able to capture those. And ITIN will do a good job in saying, hey, this is it, but sending it to Mike, John, and myself, so we decide, hey, we'll go out and do that. Normally, if a complaint requires an investigative issue first, or if it's clear by its face as to what it is and how we can go about it, John will go out and do a lot of the face-to-face investigative stuff, take some photos, and encourage that we take photos and look at that. If it's something in a realm like Mike deals a lot with senior-related issues, if it's something along those lines, we'll move on quickly. Our key is to try to turn around and respond to them within 48 hours if we can. Even if we've gotten your message, we're looking into it at that point in time. So we're trying to emphasize that type of response.
So it's not necessarily just new residents, but like on the website, because I have to admit, I haven't been on it, I haven't seen this, but does it say new resident thing, or is it just resident questions or something like that?
It's more general than that. There is
Okay.
a resident site, but there's also a button to get help if you
Okay.
press on it.
Okay.
And that form populates, and you just fill in that form and do that.
Okay.
And we really try to make an effort to direct folks to those areas because it's pretty seamless in terms of.
So it's Citizen Help Center, not,
Yeah, so it's service request.
Okay.
I think it's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's
right.
and I'm sure it'll evolve,
For a
but
long time, we didn't have something like that.
Right.
Where we could send folks to get help, and they can go there any time of the day or night, they can fill that out, and we get it.
Okay. And then my other question had to do with the historic designation. So what do we state as the benefits of having that designation to businesses?
The historical designation is those people that want to invest in their property downtown can do it with a tax advantage, assuming that they do it in compliance with the standards set forth by the historic district. So it's not, you don't have to do anything. Nobody, because they own it, have to go to talk to somebody to see if they can tear down their building or any of that stuff. But if they want to apply for this project, they can get tax credits against that and try to make the buildings go back to their historical look. And that's
Okay, but so this is not a situation where if you're in that district, you're not allowed to do something to your building?
No.
Okay, it's just if you want some help paying for it?
yes.
Got it. That's a nice compromise, I think.
Yeah, it's only value added. It's never.
Yeah, because sometimes, that can be a negative rather than always a positive, yeah.
And on the website, we actually highlight those
Good.
details.
Okay.
Because those are some of the
Yeah.
frequent questions we received.
Okay, thanks.
And there was we held a seminar here for the downtown businesses a couple weeks ago where the consultants came in and went over some of those details with the business owners. That is, for anybody watching, that is on WCTV. If you didn't catch that or whatever, you can watch that presentation and find out all those details there as well.
Great.
anything else, Tom?
No, good.
Dave? Okay. Thanks, Aiton. Appreciate it. All right, we'll go ahead and move into economic development updates.
Yeah, we'll start with the annexations. I want to keep you guys involved at every step of this annexation to make sure you understand what's going on. I'm not going to quiz you on any of this stuff, but I do want you to see it so that when I start using terms, you understand what those terms are, and you understand where each division's role is. This is the Vance annexation. You're going to notice that some of that's already in the city, right? That little stretch by Smoke Rise, that is parts in the city, and then the rest of it, that hexagon, whatever shape that is in the township. That is what the subject of the annexation is. This, you're not going to be able to read. I can't read it from here. This is the steps for annexation. This is what Mr. Arlington has to go through to figure out each step. We started initially last time we had economic development where that first blue arrow is. We marked that off and we're sliding our way down. Currently, we're in the stage where it goes in front of the Medina County Board of Commissioners, and they have to go through. There's an objection that's been made by the township that we got to deal with, and we'll be dealing with that tomorrow, and then we'll keep moving on from that point forward. There's really not just an annexation involved in this. There's 4 things that are going on all at the same time, and that's what makes this one a little more challenging than most. We have an annexation, we have some rezoning, we have pre-annexation agreements and PUDs, we're going to talk about that, and we have a TIF that is for financing. We'll talk about that. So this is the only way I keep it straight, is I put them down in a list. So this is the annexation portion of the Vance property. The first one, you have to file the annexation. That's done. Second one, you have to do the resolution of services within 20 days. We're done. Now the county commissioners have to meet. Their meeting tomorrow on this. Once they're done with it, they will send it back to us. We got to wait 60 days. And then after the 60 days, Mr. Arlington will lay it before council. I didn't make up that term. That's the term that's in the statute. So they'll lay it before council, and then we've got 120 days to vote on the annexation after that time. So that's the annexation portion that's going on. At the same time, we've got pre-annexation agreements and planned unit developments. So we better figure out what all those are, because this is kind of my presentation. We're on that third step. What's a pre-annexation agreement? It's a binding contract between the city and a property owner that commits both parties to annexing the property according to agreed upon terms. The purpose is to ensure that both the property owner and the city have a clear understanding of the terms of the annexation. The agreement typically covers issues like zoning, taxation, code enforcement, and the provisions of services such as water and sewer. We don't want to bait and switch. They don't want to bait and switch. So we want to know what this is going to be before we go down to the 11th hour and figure it out. So we're going to lock ourselves in at the beginning and save ourselves a lot of extra work in the front to save us a lot of extra work at the back. What terms are we negotiating for this pre-annexation agreement? What type of annexation we're going to do? So in this one, we're talking about a type 2 annexation. The procedures for the process, the financing method for public infrastructure. They're putting in a road for us. That's part of the concept plan. Who's going to pay for it? Well, they're going to pay for it through a TIF, and we talked about that the last time. The zoning, what's the zoning going to be? And then the concept plan, and that concept plan we already showed you. So that pre-annexation agreement is something that's been created that we're working on. That's got to go in front of you. You've got to approve me to enter into that contract. You'll see a copy of it in its entirety well before you have to vote on whether you want to do it or not. But that's the terms we're looking at. Planned unit development, what's that? This is the dictionary definition of it. A planned unit development is a flexible, non-Euclidean zoning device that redefines the land uses, allowing within a stated land area. PUD consists of unitary site plans, promote the creation of open spaces, mixed-use housing, land using, environmental preservation, sustainability, and developmental flexibility. What does that mean? Who knows? That translation is you're getting away from just an R1, R2, R3 distinction, right? We're going to look at the specific parcel of land, and we're going to enter into a contract to define what that zone is going to be, and it's going to be under that PUD. It's a development type, it's planned unit development, it's also a development process. So what terms are we negotiating for the planned unit development? What's the density going to look like? What are lot sizes going to look like? What's the open space requirement going to be? And what are the building restrictions? Maybe we're okay with a little more density, but we don't want to see apartment complexes. Those are the types of things you can negotiate. What about a giant pond in the middle? Does that count towards density? Those are things that are defined in the planned unit development. Instead of the way it currently is, where there is a code section on PUDs, we're looking to have it as a contract between the city and the developer and the property owner, so that we're all on the same page. So that's what the terms that we're negotiating on a PUD. I have, get back to this, I have prepared drafts. We're currently negotiating terms, and then ultimately for both of them, they're going to have to be authorized by council. So you'll get more than just this. We also have to rezone every one of these processes, and we're rezoning not only the parcel that's already in the city, but the parcel that's coming into the city. They have to file for rezoning in the Planning Commission. There has to be a public commission hearing, or Planning Commission hearing. There has to be council with 3 readings with a public hearing involved on that. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen for all of those parcels to be rezoned. There's a TIF. The TIF is the tax incentive financing. The development agreement has to be authorized by you. The ordinance has to be creating the TIF region, has to be authorized by you. And then what the goal is in all of this is we have one big vote at the end where it all comes in or none of it comes in. Meaning we're going to have the annexation, the rezoning, and the TIF all come in front of you at the same time. If I've timed this out right, we'll have one time where we can say, yeah, we want to do this, or no, we don't want to do this. But we'll do it one time. So that is what the annexation is going on the Vance property. And I'm willing to answer any questions you have about that. a lot of information in a very little amount of time.
None for me.
No, I'm good.
Very thorough.
I'm familiar with the process, so no, I'm fine.
Okay. Mr. Williams? I think we're good. Okay. Development agreement and proposed zoning, is that what you did all of that?
Yeah, that's all that part.
You just covered all of
Okay.
that?
So I'm on 2 now.
Okay.
I was asked by the committee to address the economic development impacts of the annexation and the public water issue that's come up. So I'm more than willing to talk about it. The who's and the what's and the how's of the decision whether to give water to somebody who's not in the city can go to the other committees. But really, when council passed this ordinance in 2007 mandating that you have to annex to be in the process, I would argue that's an economic development decision for why they did that. So I wanted to go over a little bit about that, what my view is on that. So maybe it'll help you make decisions, maybe it won't. It's up to you. But I'll just give you that information. The main method that you have, or we as a city have, of controlling people's use of their property is zoning. When we set the zoning controls, can prevent people from doing certain uses, but we do not have the power to decide what businesses go in one place. Okay, is zone this, do I have a right to say, I want this going in here? No, I don't as a city. That's just we restricting it onto certain types of uses. Can we decide that shouldn't be a farm, that should be Pulte homes should be built there? We don't have that decision. The only person that can make that decision is the owner of the property. They get to decide what uses are there. There can be restrictions on new uses by the city. So that's the key component of this, is that new uses are the only thing we control because you're grandfathered in for the uses you've already been doing. So if we brought in a big swath of property downtown and we made it commercial, all the people that are residential are still allowed to stay residential as long as they want. That is what's called a non-conforming use, and then they happen all the time. So it's not only that person can use it as long as they wanted to use it under a non-conforming use, but whoever they sell it to can use it for that use as long as they want to for life. The difference is if they want to change that use, then the new zoning is going to govern what they can change that zone or change that use to. So it is a matter of control. So if you have a farm in your city and you want to keep a farm in your city forever, the best thing you could do, I would argue, is annex it. Why? Because that means we have control over the next use. If they want to change it to something else, we don't have any control over it unless we have zoning over it. So we have to control the next use if it is changed. What does that have to do with water? Well, access to water, to city water, is the carrot that gets people into the city. Water tastes better than well water. And water helps you scale up your property. So if I wanted to have something, I wanted to put a car wash on there, I couldn't do it with well water. The well's not quality enough, and the water doesn't scale up. There's not enough of it. If you give water for a city, it can scale up rapidly. And you can make much larger developments or much different developments. And remember, if you come in as a farm, we can't change that. You can stay a farm as long as you want and sell it to the next guy can stay a farm as long as he wants, as long as it stays a farm. But if it wanted to change the use, we need to have some level of control about that. This inability for the city to grant somebody who's not who's in the township city water isn't something that we have the power to do. That is an ordinance. There was an ordinance passed by council in 2007, and I remember, if I remember correctly, it was codifying a policy that we had. So the power is that of councils, so that there can be exceptions made if you change the ordinance. So how do you do that? When do you decide? What methodology would I suggest in deciding when to when to change that law or make an exception to that law? You're going to have to look to weigh the long-term interests or dangers of losing control for the next use against a desire to be nice to a township resident, right? That's the only upside for us, is we're being nice to a township, nice to our neighbors. and we want to help people as much as we can, but we're weighing that against losing control of the next use. Some situations, there's no danger of losing control. So we've looked, since we passed this ordinance, it's only happened once, and there was a time in Hartman Road where we changed the law, you changed the law, and made an exception for this parcel. It was a 1 acre parcel. It could not come into the city, they wanted to. Couldn't come into the city because it was surrounded by township. Their well went dry. We had a pipe going directly in front of their house because it was looping after Freshwater Church, and they had to loop to the other part of the city. So that was the decision the council had to make. We have to balance it. Should we let this building essentially go down to zero value because they didn't have any water sources, or let them in, versus what is the danger of that 1 acre developing into something that was that we couldn't protect against the next use. So in that case, you found that that was an exception, that was worthy. The situation's a little different if it's, in my opinion, 80 acres in the middle of your city. Whether or not you control the next use. Maybe he decides he wants to be farming forever. Great, he can farm forever in the city. That's absolutely permitted because we can't change his current use. What if he decides to make a pig farm? What if he decides to make a slaughterhouse? We wouldn't be protecting our citizens in those situations, in my opinion, if we don't protect them against that change of use in the future. If he moves to the commercial, he goes to the township and says, we want to put commercial there. He could do that. He wouldn't be subject to any of the impact fees that we have. So all of those problems of traffic that we're going to be coming in aren't going to be paid for, aren't going to be addressed. Or it wouldn't have to do any traffic studies. So we lose that control for the next use, which is a concern for me in an economic development role. So why do we mandate the annexation to get water? It's because the annexation is the only way we control that next use. The danger of losing control of 80 acres is difficult and in my opinion would outweigh the good feelings of helping a township resident. Really only thing that they're gaining is avoiding our income tax, and that's kind of the price to pay for good water for future growth in your if you decide to in the later time. So that's the summation from an economic development standpoint. That's, I believe, why it was passed in 2007. I think that's why it's good policy. Certainly answer any questions you have to me about that.
Did you have any questions? I mean, I appreciate that background. I know this is going to be discussed in service, but
Yeah,
I think it
and-
just gives us more information.
Which is why we were going to bring it up here for that. So we carry
I
on.
just have one question. When was that Hartman Road case?
Yeah, I had that, and I think it was
2023.
2023. Thank you, Mr. Cobb.
And the one on Ridge Road was 2021, I think. There's two of them.
Okay. Glenn, I know you've been waiting, as we all have, in anticipation of your section here. So we're going to go ahead and move into engineering
I
updates.
feel like you're getting hopes up. Be careful about that. I don't have a PowerPoint. I don't have any tricks or anything. I just wanted to kind of go through and sort of celebrate what we've done, accomplished this year as just a year-end recap. And just real fast, and these shouldn't be things that are a surprise to you. You would have seen most of these issues. When I got here, we first started with the riparian area changes, and those seem to be a resounding success. We've been able to change our fee structures, so we're not going to be tracking time and billing people, and that seems to be something that's been received very well by the developers. We have now just very recently adopted Chapters 157, which is our infrastructure chapter, and 158, which is the impact fees. Those are now in effect. And again, have had really pretty good feedback on those. And one of the things that I haven't really talked a whole lot about here is some of the procedural changes we've made, in particular with Tom, when it comes to projects that are under speculation. They have under for sale. People asking questions about them. We've been very diligent to give pretty detailed engineering analysis of these projects. And so as people are looking to buy projects, properties, they get a lot of background information, a lot of answers quickly. When they come in for a preliminary review, we give them some pretty detailed responses and again, very positive feedback. I have a principle I've maybe mentioned before. I call it the 5-minute, 30-minute principle. I'm always happy to spend 5 minutes to save you 30, but don't ask me to spend 30 minutes to save you 5. I've lived by that my entire career. And so as we are, it can take me an hour or a half hour to lay out something that maybe saves the developer 3 days. And so I'm more than happy to do that so they can move faster. And I think we've seen that very positive response. Tom seems to like me quite a bit when I do those for him. So, and I think he takes credit for it too, I've heard. So just some pretty positive results from this year. We've seen a lot of interest in people coming here and doing some things, and seem to have kind of have a little bit of new feeling of developing here. So that's seemed to be very positive this year, and I think a lot of you have seen that yourselves. So that's just kind of a nice recap of patting ourselves on the back and say, hey, we've had a pretty good year getting stuff done. And just kind of looking forward to next year is some things that are on the horizon. We've been looking at this permit software as a potential item to make it so that we have a little more online presence for permitting and making things a little more automated. That's potentially going to be coming next year. Zoning code updates and we have subdivision code updates I'll mention here briefly, which is our Chapter 153, and also zoning code updates for Chapter 154. Those are going to be here coming up this next year. And then the last thing is there's some tools that have been adopted in the Chapter 157, like reimbursement districts and things like that, and some fee in lieu of improvements. And we're going to start seeing some of those implemented. So you'll start to see some opportunities that will maybe be able to open up some additional properties for development, things that the tools that we'll be able to implement now that those are all in effect. So those are some things we'll start seeing next year. So I just wanted to kind of throw it out there as some thoughts, and if you have any concerns or suggestions, we're always open for your feedback.
Okay.
No, good.
All right. So project updates, I appreciate that feedback on that too. It's been fun to see you work and make this easier for people. You've been saving more than 30 minutes.
Yeah,
for people, it seems
much
like,
more.
so. Okay. You going to take project updates as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need my glasses for that.
Oh, gotcha.
Just a few little quick updates for projects that are in construction now. We have, most of you have probably seen these already. Sheets is on the way. Whitlam has been moving forward on West Berge. The equipment storage place on Corporate Parkway is under construction. So, and then there's a residential project on West Street here right next to Sheets. So quite a few projects that are underway this winter. They're active right now. So lots of activity. You've seen that along. The project that you probably all know about, just some active status. And then some projects that are coming. Briarthorn is going to come forward with its next phase, and we that was stuck because of a turn lane issue, and we have appeared to have used the appropriate crowbar to get that unleashed. So we'll get get both the turn lane and the project, which was the hard part. So that's very positive. CAM development, which is the bank and storage on High Street, 1100 High Street, that's moving forward quite nicely. And then there's even the Powell Gymnasium is moving forward through plan review processes there on Corporate Parkway as well. So lots of activity, moving forward pretty well. Lots of positive feedback and getting good turnaround times. And I think people haven't been too frustrated with getting stuck in our processes, despite some of our limited staffing that we have right now.
In Briarthorn, is it far enough along? How many, in that third phase, how many units are they planning on adding? You know,
I knew you were going to ask that. I don't recall.
There's two phases of this particular, I think we're on phase 98.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
But there's two on this one particular, and I believe there's going kind of 3 coming online quickly for like spec homes. And then the first part is the part off the Crescent. They come in kind of both sides of there. And then the next phase is up off of kind of where the Hartman Road kind of comes in on the back web. So we're not looking at that one yet, but we're looking at that front one, trying to get some construction.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Subdivision regulations.
Okay, so the last thing is I'm here, we have, like we just did for the Chapter 157 infrastructure, Chapter 158 impact fees, we have looked at and rewritten the subdivision codes. And like we just did for those other, we sent copies of the drafts of these codes to a number of stakeholders. And for the first time in my entire career, I've gotten no responses. So we'll just leave it at that. So we think that the changes are not controversial. They're just putting into, we essentially, just to make it very unscientific, we got on a whiteboard, we drew a flow chart as to the way things work and should work, and we wrote the code that way, and we were just going to implement it so that we can do what we do, make it easier, make it less, sometimes you're working against your codes are working against what you want to do. Just make everything kind of marry together. So we're here to recommend that we move forward to council with those changes, very non-controversial, that go through and walk through how to how to get to final plat, kind of there's no song like with the make a bill into a law, but it's really how to make a property into multiple properties through platting. So that's something that we're recommending to move forward to council to adopt that new code.
Okay, and that's legislation you'd like to push forward?
Yes.
To council?
I can make that motion to go ahead with that legislation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, then after that, will that also go through, will zoning board or anything have to take care of that, or will that just strictly be done through the ordinance and council?
I don't know if planning commission needs to take a
Planning
look at that or not. I don't think so on subdivision regs, but.
Jeff would answer that. My recollection was that it did not have to go, but we'll confirm that.
Okay, okay.
Mr. Davis, when will we have a chance to review those new regulations?
We'll send those forward here. I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Kaiser was unable to make it here tonight, so he had left what he was going to discuss. You guys can review that as you have time if you haven't already. Tom was going to jump in under other business and just address at least one item to give us an update.
Jeff is kind of pressed into duty as the code enforcement officer until we get one signed. I think there's something in the budget about creating that position since we split it off, since we're doing some other things with some of the building stuff. So I wanted to keep talking about this every time so that you know what's going on. I don't want you to ask me because I want to be able to right up front tell you, or have Jeff tell you about what's going on. So there's 3 properties that are really in question right now in the code enforcement part. The one is the Leanne's old house over by the airport. It's in disrepair. Originally, we sent notice a while back. They accepted service of notice. They contacted Jeff advising that there was going to be a demolition. We haven't heard anything about the demolition, so Jeff forwarded that off to the law department to start an action, maybe light a fire under them. So I believe there's a question down there on law about, from the court's perspective, as to serving a criminal case against a corporation. There's a way of doing it. We used to do it. So there may be some education process to get that working out. But that's in the court system, ready to get that on. The second one building is the building behind the Atomic Bar. That is the one that doesn't have a roof on it. That's in terrible shape. That is owned by somebody who has contacted Jeff as well about issuing a demo permit, and I believe there's something on the books on that one. The third issue was one of the Atomic Bar, which is attached to the other one. They share a common wall. The Atomic Bar has some roof issues as well as some windows that are out. It is my understanding that Jeff initially sent out that notice It is return receipt requested, so after a period of time of not picking it up, it eventually comes back to us and tells us bad service, find a new address. So we found a new address, and he has sent that return receipt included. So once that's accepted with the new address, then we have good service. If we don't get service, then it goes to how do you do that? You can do it through ordinary mail or some publishing or some different ways. So that is currently the status of that one, waiting for good service, waiting for return receipt requested.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're under other. I did want to see if anyone has had any luck. I know at one point we talked about trying to reach out to the owners of Wadsworth Crossing to see if they can address any of the issues down there. Do you know if we've made contact or had any contact? I mean, it's pretty rough, and we're going into winter, and it's already bad. I can only imagine what's going to happen throughout this year.
I can tell you the process I went last time. We have an economic development database, contacted everybody on that, and to no avail. We went and started contacting the businesses. Who do you call when you have to get things cleaned off, to various degrees of success. The most success I had, remember there was one that was coming out that was about the size of a Buick, and that was gobbling up cars. We contacted the agent for them that's on the sign and said, I can't help you, economic development director, rent this in good faith with that hazard there. Upon that, the agent contacted them, and at least we got a cold patch on there. So the only methodology I have, it seems to be contacting the agent and tell them that we need some help in order to rent these places out.
Yeah, and of course, the streets are in bad shape. I did notice that at one point, the trees that were way down there by where you come out from Coles and go out that direction, I mean, it was it was blocked there. Someone did trim those trees up. I mean, so that's why I thought maybe some of the contact was starting to do some good, but evidently just by bits and pieces, yeah, not much, yeah.
So that's all I can tell you about that. I can't. I have the statutory agent. It's out of Columbus, or not Columbus, out of Chicago, I believe. So that is sending letters to there, maybe just into a black hole. I don't know.
Okay. Thanks for the update. Disappointing, but thanks for the update. Okay. Any other questions?
No, I don't.
Susan?
Good.
Susan? You good? Any questions, Dave? No. Okay. If not, our next meeting is January 13th, 2025, here in Council Chambers, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion.
Second?
We are adjourned.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.